Hey everyone, it's Aubrey, recovering perfectionist, queen of distraction, and welcome to the chaos. Hello there, people of the internet. Here we are, just another day, another mess. If you were with me a few videos ago where I was just doing some general tidying in the house, I stumbled upon this area, made a mess, and came to the realization that even though I had done a ton of decluttering back in 2025, it doesn't stop there. I've been decluttering since 2019, and it's just one of those things that I'm really kind of coming to terms with, that it just doesn't end. Decluttering and organizing are just things that have to happen sometimes. So today we are officially starting the 2026 Aubrey's Ultimate Reorganization or something along those lines. I don't know. Basically, we're starting in this area of our home. It's our dining room. It's our homeschooling area. And this time of year, as we start approaching the growing season, it is where I will set up my seed starting shelf. In front of this window, we are also going to be getting chicks today. So we'll be doing our chick setup, all paper homeschooling shenanigans. Well, most of it is in this area, but I need to reevaluate that, just get this area super organized, super clean, so I can bring some dirt and chicks into the vicinity. So without further ado, let's get started. I don't know exactly what I'm going to start with, but we're starting. Okay, so this is the area where we are going to start. Last night, I did do some in advance cleaning. It was just what I was able to get done before I went to bed. It was only the dining table, but it at least gave me some kind of clean slate in all of this chaos. My plan right now is to move all of the mess to the dining table. I'm also going to clear everything out of this and put it on the dining table because I want to do a deep dust and whatnot. I don't want to have to sweep or vacuum twice, so I'm going to make as much mess on the floor as I possibly can before I do that. Let's do it. So all this stuff down here, especially up here, is our homeschooling stuff that I'm not super actively using, but it was relevant enough to not have packed away. The majority of this stuff is now irrelevant to my life, so I am going to put it elsewhere for the most part. Ta-da! So this whole situation here, I need to reevaluate because obviously it's extremely chaotic. Normally I have the boys' kinetic sand containers stacked here, which is fine, but then I just feel like this is such a terrible use of space. I'm wasting a lot of horizontal space in an area where I should be utilizing the vertical space. I don't know. I think this is just one of those things where you have to take everything out before you can figure out where you're going to put it back. Also, there's a lot of empty things in here. Oh no, there's things in these things. Never mind. This is not where paint goes, but I forgot about that. Also, storage doesn't have to be fancy because I literally made this out of an old delivery box. Now we, a few months back, had some instances where independent painting was started independently, which, you know, I'm all for being a go-getter and starting a project, but my 4-year-old boy is just, he's not the most trustworthy person when it comes to making wise choices as far as, you know, the location of painting and whatnot. So I moved the painting supplies for a while up on the fridge. Now they live in the pantry, but I find us not accessing them as much. So I am going to reluctantly move them back into the painting area because I'm not initiating it with it being in the pantry. He's not initiating it being in the pantry. So originally when I walked in here, I was going to put all this stuff in here, but now I'm thinking about how we don't use it because it's in the pantry and we're going to take it out of the pantry. Oh, that's a little heavy. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is one thing that just kind of drives me nuts about decluttering and organizing is just, you know, consistently and constantly reevaluating where things go. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting the Play-Doh back in here because I can't put the paint in there. Yeah, it all fits more or less. I think we had to go through the front door.
That sucks.
Okay, so there is still a bit that I need to do in this area, but at this point we are at a good spot where I can stop, take a break, we can go and get the chicks. I'm very excited to do this. I love getting chicks, I love starting seeds. It's just these little signs that keep me going this time of year. Just those little reminders that spring and summer are right around the corner. So without further ado, let's go get some chicks.
Don't touch.
It does say don't touch. It says ask for help. One special little chick for a special little boy. How do these chicks make you feel?
Happy.
Put your hand down a little bit in the back.
Let's go, Shirley.
Okay, so since I'm really overthinking how we're going to talk about this, we're just going to break things down by item. So you obviously need a place to put your chicks. Now, this is our 7th year raising chicks. Every year we usually get somewhere between 4 to 16 chickens. It just depends on who died the previous year. Also at this point, we're really starting to experience who's getting old. Our oldest hen is almost 7 years old at this point, so her egg production is just basically non-existent. We just like to keep her around as just, a valued member of the flock. She's the grandma, and right now we don't have a rooster, so I think that she's the one who's keeping everybody in line. But back to what I was originally trying to talk about. This is a 100-gallon water trough situation for livestock. This is our second year using this. It is 100% not necessary, but chicks grow, and there will be a point where we will probably even have to transition a few of these into another container. We have a second one of these that we might end up just splitting them in half, so there's enough space for them to move around, but they'll only be in here for realistically about 6 to 8 weeks. Once things kind of start warming up, we'll put them out with our other hens in their own fenced off area so the big girls can get used to these little babies, and then so they can acclimate to the temperature of the chicken coop before we let them out into the big run. With that being said, as far as what you're putting your chickens in goes, you'll figure it out. We use storage totes forever. Some of them were smaller, some of them were larger. Sometimes we had to put some in one and some in another. You'll figure it out. As far as bedding goes, we are using straw again this year. The last few years we have used a pine bedding, never used cedar with chicks or chickens in general. The oils in cedar can cause respiratory issues. Fun fact. But this year we're trying straw again, just hoping that it keeps the dust down. Once they start getting older and they're doing a bunch of flying around and their baby feathers are falling out and they just start making, more of a general mess, there is a lot of dust that gets kicked up. They also will start flying up here at some point. So we do have an extra window screen that when that happens, we just start setting this on top to keep everybody contained as well as the dust. Now, as far as heat goes, we have this, which is, it produces heat below and it kind of gives the chicks the illusion of like a mama hen. You're scared and you run under your mom. But when we put the girls in here yesterday, we had the heat lamp set up and this, and they've never even seen a grown-up hen in their entire life, which is actually very sad now that I think about it, but they just seem to prefer the heat lamp. So we took that little heat box situation out. Also, my son really likes to use the containers that they come in, and he cuts a door and then it's a little playhouse for the chicks. So that gave us space for that. The heat lamp is just a red heat lamp is what they had at the feed store. It's what they're used to. It works, whatever. The only thing that's a downside with these is when you do get chicks, assuming this becomes a yearly thing for you, make sure you have a red light bulb on hand, because there's nothing worse than trying to figure out how to keep your chickens warm at 10 p.m. if a light bulb burns out. Just have an extra. Now, as far as water goes, they're drinking out of it, and that's that. Now, as far as feed goes, we 1 year did not get a medicated chick crumble, and we had one die. So I'm just forever traumatized by that one death, and we will just always buy a medicated chick food. This is not the brand that I normally get, but we also ended up buying chicks from a place that we don't normally buy chicks, but this is just what they have, the Purina Flock to Farm. It has probiotics in it, which if it wasn't already in that food, I would be adding a probiotic powder. They have a specific formula for chickens. I would be adding that into their water. Let's see, what else? Another random thing with chicks that we've ran into is pasty butt. They will poop and sometimes it will get stuck to their feathers and then harden and cover up their vent, and then they can't poop, and then they get backed up and die. We have lost one chick in the past to pasty butt, so that's something that me and my son really try and pay attention to. I usually try and just start with warm water on a Q-tip to try and work it off, and honestly sometimes the Q-tip just doesn't do the trick, and I've gone in there and cleaned their little poopy butt with my hand. It's just kind of one of those things. After you have kids and you deal with animals and stuff, you're just kind of unfazed by gross stuff like that. You just wash your hands and move on. But I think that is that as far as chick stuff goes. So I hope this was helpful to the one gal who commented requesting a chick video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Also, there's I'm just one idiot on the internet. There's plenty of other people out there with probably far better advice than I have. Last year we did get 8 chicks. 6 of them actually made it out to the coop, and then only 1 of them ended up surviving, into adulthood. So that's that. As my dad always says, that's life on the farm. So now that I'm done talking about chicks, we are going to set up my seed shelf. This was another thing that I was going to put over by the window, but I just really think that we need this area to function for us in this phase of life, and I like Alex's little table in front of the window so he can play there while Jackson and I are doing school at the dining table. So I think that I'm going to put the seed shelf just in my room It will be close enough to where it gets some of the heat from the fire, but it's not going to be hindering like our day-to-day functioning in this area. So that's that. We're moving on now from chicks to gardening. Let's do it. Okie dokie, here we are. So far, the only thing that I have started this year are Walla Walla onion seeds, and then over here I have some Johnny Jump Up pansies and some hollyhock seeds. These are lights that I got off of Amazon, I think 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't start any seeds last year, but hopefully they work when I plug them in. If they work when I plug them in, I'll link them in the description below. It's not a perfect system, but like I can adjust accordingly, and that's that. Alrighty, well this is where we close things up. We did the decluttering, the chicks are set up, my seed starting area is all ready to go, and there is just such a huge sense of relief knowing that an area where we spend such a significant portion of our week has the cleanest slate that I realistically could have given it. This morning, Alec and I, we busted out the paints and we did some painting together. And it just felt so dang good to be able to do something like that without feeling so overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, I need to get in here and declutter. You know, sometimes like you just live with a problem for so long and you just dwell on the fact that you need to deal with it every time you interact with that space. And it just feels so good knowing that at least for the next couple months, I won't feel that feeling when I go into that area for our homeschooling stuff. I also love that I was able to eliminate the basket that I had our homeschooling supplies in and just put everything in that drawer. For a while, I had kept everything in the cupboard, but I just feel like the drawer is just so much more accessible. I don't know. I like drawers. Drawers over cabinets, but also sometimes cabinets are nice. That's a topic for another day, but also probably not. Anyway, we're just going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for taking a chunk out of your day to hang out with me. I hope you found some inspiration, whether it was from the decluttering or the chicks or the seed starting. I'm so excited for spring. I just can't contain myself. Also, if you are interested in seeing the progression of our garden and our garden expansion over the course of the summer, make sure you're subscribed. I had talked about in last week's video how we were going to expand our garden on the side of our house, but turns out you shouldn't plant a garden on or near your septic tank. Fun fact. So we have another area in the yard that we are going to start breaking ground on when it stops raining. Oh gosh, just the joys of gardening in the Pacific Northwest, I'll tell you. But that is all for real. I hope to see you next week. I hope you're having a wonderful winter. Hang in there. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, send some of your sun our way. All right, I'll see you in next week's video. As always, I love you. Have fun and be kind.